Not that I would.
How you doing?
Good.
No, it can't. My wife will kill me.
It's gotta be complete. I'm just trying to.
It's a good plan. Hey Austin, how you doing? Good.
It is weird. What?
Welcome, everyone. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting to order on November 15th at 6 o'clock even. Can I have roll call, please?
I have Alderman Tyler. Here. Pecoraro.
Here.
Ruby. Here. Braun.
Here.
Zedzilka.
Here.
Also present, City Attorney Luke Brown, Mayor Arthur G. Pappas, City Accountant Amanda Reimer, and DPW Superintendent Mike Sutton. He's here though.
Yeah.
Before we begin the public hearing and discuss the budget, Donna, did you have something you wanted to say?
Actually, yes. Thank you, everybody, for coming. As we've gone through this year's budget process, I just want to say that I appreciate the mayor's hard work on the budget, along with Amanda and all the department heads this year. And I think I said that a couple weeks ago, but as I was thinking and the past budgets that I've gone through since I've been sitting up here, what I would like to suggest, and it's not really a suggestion, it goes according to what should happen. I would like to see moving forward that we start the budget process a little bit earlier. I know that we can't do it immediately after the first of the year because we have to have all our numbers. But I would like to see us move forward with looking at the budget earlier so we can get that budget by October 1st. And the council would have more time to look at the budget itself, along with the residents, so they can see it. I know in the past, When we did get the budget, we also invited, or if they wanted to come, department heads to our workshops and go through their budget personally with us, so we know what their needs were over, whatever we were looking at. But I have nothing against what the mayor did. He had a very tough job this year from, everything that I was told. But I just would like to see, next year, let's try and, move ahead and work on the budget earlier rather than later. Get the budget to us in, a timely manner. And, so we can actually delve into it a little bit longer and have a little bit more time to, have the hearing, get it voted and get it passed.
I
And
was
that's
gonna
all.
say that I just can't concur with that more, and actually not wait till next year, but keep the budget committee moving, because there's a lot of good ideas that can come out of that, and a lot of exploration that happens before we ever get the numbers. So let's not wait until, the summertime to get the
Right.
budget committee formed. Let's do it, in December, and start having discussions of what those good ideas are. For instance, one of the ideas that I had that Mark Zeldner, who's in the audience, concurred with was, us looking at our sanitation and whether our costs could come down if we actually outsourced sanitation. And he proved to me that we couldn't do that, but recycling was a place where we might be able to look at some cost savings in the future. Those are discussions that are good to have, and have them in a budget discussion to how to move the budget forward and give the residents the best services that they require.
Right. And look for those different things throughout the year. And
Absolutely.
bring it to
And
the
not,
table.
and not just start in the summertime, but have it ongoing throughout the year.
Correct. So that's my only comment, so anybody else want to, up to the,
Well, yeah,
President.
I think it's great, Donna, too, I agree, obviously, and,
Yes,
Is your
yes,
mic
yes,
on?
Sonia.
hi. But, also, I think someone brought up a point that it might not be a bad idea throughout the process to have the public be able to maybe attend and just listen in on conversations if they aren't contractual, if they aren't about personnel
well,
issues
I
and
think that's
so
where
on.
in the past, it hasn't happened in probably 2 or 3 years. We used to have workshops.
Oh, okay,
And the department heads would come in and go over their actual budget with
Right.
us.
I think that's
So, and
great,
that's open to the public.
because it's just
right there.
easier to ease people into, why did we make this decision, why did
Correct.
we do this, right?
So that, and I know that it was, I give the mayor and Amanda a lot of credit for delving into this budget this year. It was a tough one, so, that's all I had to say. So we're opening it up to anybody else?
Yeah,
President?
if anybody wishes to come forward and speak on any comments or suggestions with tonight's budget, please step forward, state your name and address to the microphone.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I've been here before. And I like this great city of Tonawanda.
Hey, Mark, can you please say your name and address for record?
346 Goundry Street, apartment number 5. You gotta get the apartment number.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Gren. I was wondering, I've been playing for the local North Tonawanda Merchants Association as well as Oliver Street Association. I know Amy. And I was wondering, I love the antique fire trucks, that brings a community with the rides, playing on Webster Street, on Webster. And I was wondering if, of course, I know you got your budget, but I was wondering, I heard about 2 years ago that it costs $1,100 for this horse and carriage. That's what it costs for the tradition for the community. I like the fire truck, anti-fire truck, but I'm not saying nothing different between the horse and carriage and with the fire truck and itself. I think it's a nice thing, maybe it's a little cheaper with the horse and carriage. But I just making a suggestion to the council that I thought to myself, if somebody has $1,100 towards your budget, or my budget, if I had my budget, I could give $1,100 out of myself, which I do not have. And before December 1st for the winter walk.
So Mark, you're asking the council to approve the horse and buggy?
If it is available, yes.
And
For
Mark,
the-
what we could do is we can go back to the winter walk committee
Right.
and make that recommendation to see what we can do to facilitate that. And I know the coordinators of it, and I'll do that for you.
Oh, so Bob, you do know them.
I do know, oh, absolutely.
I wish I do know them.
And, no, I know them and
Okay.
I'll be able to send on your recommendation to them and see what we can do to facilitate that. But I do wanna mention that when you said it's my budget, you're absolutely right. As a resident, this is your budget. It's all of ours budget in the city of North Tonawanda, so we
Big
appreciate
family.
that. Yep, you betcha.
Well, thank you, Bob. If you can submit that, that would be great.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I
Thank
thank
you.
all council.
Yep,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
You're welcome.
Anybody else wishing to step up and speak about budget, please step forward and state your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Duza, and I reside at 123 Miller Street, North Tonawanda. Let me ask you, on this public hearing, will you have a transcript, an audio of it available for citizens to listen on the website?
Yes, I will, Sonia.
Thank you. I have 4 items I'd like to bring up. Number 1, I have been reviewing the planning documents in past and in recent times, even much more in very detail. And when I'm reading it, I'm reminded of my requests in the early 60s and the following decades, requests to Common Council people at the time during the budget hearings and even when there's not a budget hearing. And when I read the documents, I'm reminded we really were missing the mark when we were not having a senior, a planner, a full-time planner for our municipality. I don't know how much time you're going to allow.
You got 5 minutes, Sonia.
And I would mention to you, I remember a friend, an attorney, he said, when there's a public hearing and you're on point, you can take as much time as you need when there's a public hearing. So I just throw that to you, and I hope you'll double check that, Mr. Brown. The second item is, also on the comments of the, regarding having a full-time planner. The undertaking that the city has attempted to take has been a tremendous disservice to the community. Stuart Brown started in, I think, 88, maybe in that time period, and was putting together with the planning commission and the zoning board a master plan that would be for 1990 to 2010. I cannot give you the exact date, but it did not take 10 years to put together. And the breadth that you were attempting to make was unreasonable. And then, finally, when things are for people to comment, there is a tremendous amount of pages to read. And this is not easy reading because some of this is technical things.
2 minutes, Sonia.
And you have not allowed enough time. That's another reason for a full-time planner. The other thing is code enforcement. In your own documents, the recent one with the BOA, the consultants, these are the appendices for the material people have to read. This is not the plan, this is just the appendices. On appendices C, the consultant, Carmoy Associates on page 32. And it is about his material is housing market analysis and needs assessment. On that page, titled Property Management Codes and Code Enforcement. Adverse housing conditions in a neighborhood can often be improved through enforcement of building and property maintenance codes. Camoin Associates recommends the city consider the following several bullet points. The first one, conduct a review of the city's existing codes to make sure that existing codes align with identified housing issues. The city should update codes and develop new ones as necessary. Second one, the city should ensure that code enforcement is a priority. How many years have I been talking about this? At least since the early 60s. Code enforcement has got to be practiced.
Sonia, are you
This includes
requesting?
having an adequate number of code enforcement officers and providing training to those officers. Some cities have instituted programs where all single and multifamily housing is inspected to determine if exterior repairs are needed to the housing unit or property. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more bullet points. Things which I've been asking for decades.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Sonia, have you ever compiled these questions and given them to Mike Zimmerman?
I have, over the decades, beginning in 1960, giving it to the Common Council, building inspectors for more bodies in that department. And you know, when the budget hearing was being conducted, the beginning of the process of putting together a fiscal budget, Mike Eisenhower, like all the department heads, came in with their wish list, and he had, I need extra bodies. And I would tell you, there has been a new amendment added to 19 New York Codes, Rules, and Regulations, Amendment 1208-6.
Thank you, Sonia.
That is about having.
So, Sonia, but my first question, a lot of these questions, besides the building department, have to do with sort of our planning. And Mike Zimmerman would be your go-to for a lot of those questions.
Mike Zimmerman said to me, when I met I forget which committee it was, they were meeting, I came here, they were Rumble, at a sports drill, having their meeting.
I thought you said that was traffic safety.
Huh?
That was 5 years ago.
Well, he said no, that was last year or the year before. He said to me, Sonia, the city does not have a planner. He's not the planner for the city. He works under LCDC. That is where he works.
So he's
He does
community
not work for
development.
the city to do planning.
He does community development.
But he would be one of your best resources for a lot of answers to these questions too, regardless of his title. He knows a lot about this.
That his function is not to address that because he's hired to be the director of LCDC.
Yeah, but he is still a city employee, and if you have questions like that pertain to this sort of thing, you can easily ask him and he'll give you a response.
And you know what? I have spoken to him.
Okay.
But you have to remember, he's not authorized to be looking at the planning and saying, hey, you do so and so. That's not his job. His job is LCDC. So that, I tell you, he is
Thank you.
not a planner. We
Thank
do
you,
not
Sonia.
have a planner in our
Thank you.
city.
Thank you.
I got that down, so that you're asking for a city planner and another code enforcement officer.
Yeah, and I would back it up by telling you, in your own documents, they've said this, in your own documents, the planners say how much blight there is, how
Okay, thank you,
how
Sonia.
bad it is.
Your 5
And
minutes is
if you
up.
look at your own documents, what I've been
Sonia.
asking for decades, these people, your consultants are
Thank you.
paying, are telling you the same thing.
Thank you so much.
There was,
Sonia, we're done now.
okay,
I've gave you some extra couple minutes there as bonus.
thank you.
Let's give somebody else a chance. Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's budget? Or any suggestions with the budget, please step forward. State your name and address.
You guys picked a rotten night to have this, by the way.
Can't predict the weather.
Walt Yarrow, 170 Christiana Street. You guys gotta help me out with some numbers. This is high finance. And basically what I'm talking about is the DPW budget. I wish I'd have made a notation what specific page it was on, but I downloaded it according to your website that was in the paper. There are a couple of numbers, and this has to do with road surface, road repair, and sidewalks. You have some numbers, and there's an article in tonight's paper by some young lady from one of the papers. The numbers I'm concerned about are 350,000, 410,000, and 50,000. That's in addition to the 730,000 that the paper says we'll receive from CHIPS. Is that correct? The 350,000 is for the road resurfacing. I think that's what the paper says that you have appropriated 350,000 for road and sidewalk work. You forgot to add the $50,000 to that that's on the page, Art.
No.
You guys gotta help me
I
out.
think it was, I gotta find the page, but I think it was requested at 350, but was reduced to 300. If
Well, then
I'm
why
not-
don't you correct the document,
I gotta find it.
okay? And so if we get 50,000 for sidewalks, we get $410,000 for street operations. I've asked what the definition of the word operations is. What does that include? Anybody wanna tell me? Dan, you told me something yesterday, I forgot what it was.
You know what, well, we'll ask the person who's in charge to explain operations for you.
Who is that?
Mr. Zellner.
Which one of you gentlemen is Mr. Zellman?
Mark,
This doesn't count against my time while he's getting.
I will pause it to you for you, Walt.
Pardon?
I will pause the
Oh,
time
that's
for you.
nice of you.
Not a problem.
The 410 is for repairs to the equipment, everyday operations, gas, fuel, oil,
Salt.
and whatever supplies we need to do for 410.
I would imagine salt fits in there as well as some of the other stuff, right, Mark?
I think salt's a separate account.
Okay, I can't question that because I don't know what you have with it that you're including in it. And again, is that included, what is our total budget for the year for paving of the streets? Is it 1.5 million, 1.4 million, or what?
This year, I think we spent right around 1.2 million.
Okay, that was for the 15 miles you did.
Yeah.
So you got $75,000 a mile
Yeah.
for repairing. Okay, that's big money.
Yeah.
Okay, the sidewalk, how many linear feet or what have you of sidewalks do you repair a year?
This year, we actually had a problem with getting the contractor in, but we, in-house, I don't have a good number on how many we did in-house, but we did 60 handicap ramps around the city.
Hell, those aren't the things we need. We need the sidewalks
We have to-
repaired that
we
are
have to do-
uplifted by the tree roots and just old age.
We have to do them in order to get our money from CHIPS. The 700,000 from the state, we have to have handicap ramps put in on the street.
Oh, let me tell you how many times they're used. there's 4 on the intersection of Christiana and Bryan. I don't, other than myself walking on it, I don't know of anybody who runs a wheelchair up there.
Well, it still has to be done.
I understand. Nevertheless, it's a waste of money. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, I see Senator Chris Jacobs got $300,000.
Who?
Chris Jacobs, state senator, the town of Tonawanda has received $300,000 in state funding to create new sidewalks and locations throughout the town, according to State Senator Chris Jacobs. How come we didn't get some money from the state for the sidewalks?
We do get money, but right now, there is a grant in through Senator Hort to, hopefully supply some money for. That's in the works right now for sidewalks.
How come he got 300,000 already and we
I
haven't gotten
can't speak
anything?
for, Mr. Jacobs. That's Erie County. It's a whole different place.
No,
I
it's a
have no-
state, it's the same
I
place as New
understand,
York
but
State,
but
the
each-
most high-tax state in the country.
We know that, but each county is distributed a certain amount of money. They're not all equal. They're not all the same.
Get our politicians to do some work for the money they earn.
Well,
Ort needs to get moving.
right to Senator Hort.
Did you ever try to get a hold of him?
Yes.
Oh, well, and again, I just came up here to comment about the sidewalks and the road repairs, specifically the sidewalk. You guys are doing a decent job on the streets and the roadways. They're coming along. Another 20 years and they might be, all completely repaved. But at the rate you're going, it's gonna take at least 10, 15 years to get them done. My concern is the sidewalks, and I'll harp on that consistently. I'm tired of people falling down, tripping over them. I can't walk my dog at night because I don't know what the sidewalk looks like. They're not well lit. I guess I can get off of that. Now, I have one other subject, and I'm going to say, you must fund some money for someone in this organization within the city that prepares a leaf pickup schedule. Do you pay that person money? Have you noticed the schedule, what it looks like? We have all the leaves that are being picked up while the leaves are still in the trees. That's early October when the pickup starts. That's a waste of time and money.
Depends on the season.
No, it's basically the same every year,
Is it?
okay? Yeah, I've been here
I'll take your
longer
word,
than
I'll
you.
take your word for it.
You better.
But we are committed to picking up leaves even after the
Yeah,
last
we've
schedule.
done.
Oh, yeah,
A
yeah,
fourth
definitely.
pickup and a
Yeah.
fifth pickup and a
Yeah,
sixth
but I'm
pickup.
just saying, if you're paying money for this, and it looks like a nice piece of paper, it's gotta cost a couple pennies to have it printed, and you got a lot of them, do it accurately, do it so it has some meanings to it. You put in dates of early October, and as I said, the leaves are green, they're still in the tree. I still have leaves in my trees,
Those are your trees.
yeah. Well, anyhow, take care of the sidewalks in this town, okay, Arthur? They definitely need to be done. I don't wanna see anybody else, breaking their hands or fingers when they fall down and trip over them. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt.
You're more than welcome.
Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's budget? Any suggestions for the budget, please step forward. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Joanne Del Porto, 416 Fairmont. I ran against Mr. Zed Zilka last year and I've stayed away. I haven't bothered you guys, I don't think, too much this year since I lost. But this strikes me as a side part of the budget, and I'll be brief, but one of the things that I really was looking for was transparency. And I think a lot of the hot button issues could be more easily resolved and maybe take the heat out of it if you were live streaming or at least videotaping and then putting this on Facebook. I understand it's being audio taped, but it's
It's
like,
videotaped. The camera right there.
has it been on the website?
Yes.
It's been on YouTube.
It's on the website and it's on YouTube.
Yeah, we did exactly what you asked us to.
All our meetings are on the website and YouTube.
Yeah, there's sometimes like a 2-week delay, but.
Okay, my bad for not researching
Yeah,
it.
we've been
finding
doing
it,
that
but
since the
I
beginning of
guess
the year.
the other part of it is, making it in a format that social media can share so that you can kind of say like, I don't know if that's the case, but it seems like Facebook is, for people my age, like the new means of communication. I think the press is doing the best they can, but they've been cut back severely and not everybody even reads the paper. So if there were a vehicle for people to even say, well, this, at 22 minutes, this is a section on X, that, you know, I think it would help everyone. There seems to be, this is not all about you, but, you know, a longstanding feeling of, oh, they're gonna do whatever they want, and,
Well, you asked for that transparency on that videotaping, and we did it. So, you know, I wanted to, make that an initiative, and Dan helped us out with that.
okay, I will check it out more thoroughly, but if it isn't, shareable,
It's shareable if it's on
Accessible.
YouTube, yes.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a better idea if we can make it live, right? I always thought it's something like if someone's at home right now feeding the kids or whatnot, and they're a little busy, but they're watching it while they're cooking, and then they see some big topic come up, right? Like right now, maybe the meeting's going for 2 hours, it takes them 5 minutes to drive here, and they could start talking about the issue too if they chose.
Well, even a live one can be watched later.
Right, but I'm
Yeah.
saying the current time of it, right? It's not, sometimes I saw YouTube videos not go up for 2 weeks, right? And by then, something passed, it already hit the news, you know, so
Sure.
on like that.
yes.
It's hard to take action as a citizen when there's such a delay in sort of the transparency of what goes on.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful that we did 2 public hearings, so if someone couldn't make it, we're giving you another opportunity to attend.
And 24 hours is enough, I
Well-
guess, to change a $37 million budget, so.
Well, it's been in circulation for
Well,
long
and I
longer
think
than that.
that you're
let's be
saying,
realistic.
Joanne, not just tonight.
Yeah, we
Throughout
didn't,
the year.
I'm
we didn't
saying-
just produce it tonight, did we?
It's a part of the budget, but it's also a part of, you know, you mentioned we're one big family. I have a really large extended family, and if you put a handful of us talking about the other ones, it's a problem. If you put us all in the same room where everyone is accessible to see what everyone is saying, it's a different conversation and communication method. So I'm just suggesting, I know you said you put it on YouTube, whatever, but if something happened tonight and say someone wanted to share it on Facebook or have a conversation, it would be that much more accessible. Live streaming would be ideal, but even so that you could have the conversation that everyone were a part of and not feeling like, and again, I'm not saying if you did something differently, more people would show up here. That's just not the nature of how we live today. And, you know, the weather tonight's horrible, but there's been school board meetings I can't make because there's also a concert or a thing, you know, depending on whether you're elderly, younger, kids wearing, it's hard. And you know, you guys come here, but it would broaden the audience and make the communication better and start to move into a current
Yeah,
way of communicating. And also if you had someone who was able to share it and make it real accessible, that's why it's attached to the budget as well, because I didn't go through it, but I don't know if you have technology anywhere that someone could do that as a part of their job and just make it a highlight of what your city is doing is, you know, we're here, we're transparent, we want to share.
We
with you, want
hear
comments.
we hear the discussion all the time about transparency. And what I'd love to have is somebody sit down and say, here's what transparency means to me. And lay out the steps required to say, now you're transparent.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got their own definition of transparency. Everybody's got their own way of wanting the message sent to them and delivered. And I would love to see somebody say, what is my true definition of transparency? What does it mean to be transparent? Because I get that discussion
Yeah,
all the time,
I do
and
too.
every time we hear we want this, we provide it.
And then we want.
So
some-
Well, except it isn't exactly in the version, and how many people do you have here? And what I'm talking about, when you live stream it, anyone can look on it on, say, Facebook, or, I'm not a technologically astute person, but, what you're talking about is, what I don't, is like it feels like, whether you mean it to or not, you don't really want to open it up to everyone at the
Please,
same time.
please write out the steps,
Yeah,
you would,
write out the
your
steps you want.
definition of transparency to me.
Yes,
Please write those out and give them to me, so I can vet them and try to give you what you're asking for.
Okay, you want an email to you?
Please do.
Okay.
you
and I'll use-
email the
I'll use
whole, I
some
want
of
the whole council to see it, you write down what you think it
Sure,
means to you.
and it's tied
And
in
we
with
already
the
took one
laws of.
step, we're taping it, it's,
I'm sorry, what was that?
she's reaching out to
Raise
say
my
something.
hand.
And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
acknowledging one speaker at a time.
Right,
So, we're taping it, we're doing that, it's something that you and Eddie Smolinski challenged us to do, we're doing it. You know, and we weren't really hearing an outcry for it, but you know what? We wanna get the message out there, we want people to know what's going on. If they don't wanna go to the website to look for it, if they don't wanna go to YouTube, I can't make them do it even if I live stream it.
Right.
So it's gotta be something that's sought after and they can find it. And I think that's been provided, so I disagree in a way. So if there's another version of transparency or another layer of transparency that you wanna see, that you don't see, then just like I sent my email to you, let me know what it is.
Okay, the comments back, and I'll be real brief and get out of here, feel like there's some hostility coming my way, and, okay. I would ask you now ahead, so that I don't ruffle any feathers, if someone wanted to come here and tape every meeting and stand in the audience or sit right there and live stream it on their phone or on their tablet, would any of you have a problem with that?
That's perfectly legal.
So, okay, that's good to know, and I thank you for your time.
And
Thank you.
can I say
Thanks.
something?
Sure.
Joanne, I understand that we have had a lot of people come and say, we need more people out in the audience, and we do. I don't have a problem with it. I sit on the school board meetings are packed,
Only when there's.
only when
yeah,
there's a hot
And
topic.
that's when the
Okay,
news media
but
shows up with cameras.
We have our media here, and I think that they have done a good job of, and our city clerk office, putting everything out there. If this is coming up, this is coming up, this is coming up. The people in the city also have to be engaged in the city
I
in
agree.
order to come here and attend our council meetings.
I agree.
And we can't reach out and invite 30,000 people to come to they have to reach out to us too.
Right, and I.
And I think in the aspect of advertising and getting it out, I think that Niagara Gazette has done a great job. Niagara Reporter is pushing, not just our city, but other cities and getting, what's going on in their cities out there. And that's a tough thing. Tonawanda News, I think that was terrible that we lost it. Cause we were in there all the time. Everything that happened in the city was in that Tonawanda News, and I would love to have it back.
Right.
And I think I understand what you're saying, that you would want more people to know what is happening up here.
Right.
And, putting it out on Facebook sometimes, that I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook sometimes because of everything that's out there, but, it's not a bad idea, and if we legally can have someone tape, I don't have a problem with that.
Right, and I totally agree with what you're saying, and I was giving people the benefit of the doubt with the weather and the busy lives.
Oh,
A lot of
yeah.
people just won't go, and I get that.
There wasn't that many here last night.
No,
either.
I know, but the, reality is Facebook is the
I know,
my age and down,
our age,
but
I get
the
that.
next generation, it's gonna be quicker and smarter and easier, and if we don't even go to this level so that we can move into the other level, I think that's the way to grab them.
So Joanne, I like your points being made, and it seems like a lot of us up here are really sort of wanting the answer to transparency, but, it reminds me of something in my field of work in architecture and design. We always say that a design is never done, right? And the same sort of instance with transparency, right? You're not gonna have something 100% transparent, but continue to change it and mold it to meet the needs of the people is something different. And similar to design, right? Things can always just be vetted out a little bit more, tweaked a little bit more, and something else changes in other things. So I think it has been an upgrade, video recording, but what is that next step? Maybe it is live videos, something more accessible, because what my understanding is in the midterms a couple weeks ago, we had one of the highest turnouts of 20-year-olds since like the 80s or something crazy like that, right? These millennials that actually got out and voted, and they want to get involved in politics, right? And they want to know what's going on in their city. So now they're our demographic that we have to hit. What do they want? It's not necessarily what we want up here, it's what do the people want that want to get involved and be informed about their government. So
Right.
I
What's
think you
most
make a
effective.
good point.
Right, and I will email all of you,
Please do.
and my apologies for not knowing about the YouTube. I'll check that out, and I'll get back to you about maybe some suggestions about what would it look like now.
Thank you.
with what
I
you're
just
saying.
need to know,
What the heck
because-
I'm asking.
because every week somebody says you're not transparent.
You're absolutely.
So I need to
Okay,
know,
but
what is
If
it,
it's
what
not
is it
just
that?
me, you
Bob,
might
maybe he
wanna
wants
think
you to go
about that,
invisible
but
and
okay.
vanish,
All right.
right?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sonia, what's up?
Rick Summers, when he was the
Well,
council
okay.
president,
Sure.
he said, when we revamp this
Thanks,
room,
Austin.
we're going to include, things so we can do videotaping.
That's,
And we still don't have it. This is how many, couple of years now?
Okay.
Where's that video?
So,
Thank you, Sonia.
yeah, we can,
it's
Not a
his,
standstill.
it's his turn.
all right, thanks, man.
Edward Smolinski, 1097 Sweeney Street. Looked at the budget this year and I realized you got it all done. What really concerns me about this budget and the past budgets is the fact that you've been kicking the can down the road per se, and next year I think we're gonna be in for a rude awakening. 6, 7 years back, I think we had over 8 million, somewhere around 8 million in the unappropriated funds. Every year you've taken over 1 million or so out of the appropriated funds. Unappropriated funds are for a rainy day. Your roof collapses, you need that money. Bridge falls down, you need that money. Good government, you should keep 3, 4, 10% of your budget in the unappropriated funds. And you've depleted it down to nothing. This year, you're taking 700,000 out of there, 200,000 out of compensation, I believe. Next year, you're not gonna have that. You know, the 7 and 2, that's 900,000, that's $1 million. In order to make up that $1 million next year, you're gonna need like a 5.9% increase. On top of that, you ask for department heads, 10% slashes. I don't know if you got all of it, but, you know, 37 million, that's 3.7 million. Are they gonna be able to do that again next year? Costs are going up. Right there could be another 10% or another 5%. You could be looking at a 10% budget next year. You really depleted this unappropriated fund beyond what it should be. And it's not
What do you
right.
think the suggestion should be, Eddie, so that we can have a
Well,
higher general fund?
instead, unfortunately, sometimes you have to raise taxes. I believe the mayor said in his speech, he actually cut taxes at one point, or taxes have been cut at one point. Sometimes you can't do that. You can't just keep robbing Peter to pay Paul per se. You gotta keep that buffer. And unfortunately, sometimes you do have to raise taxes. And you're proud that for the past 6, 7 years, you've only raised them 4%. Unfortunately, maybe you should have been doing a little more, I hate to say. But you wanna make yourself look good, that's what you do. With this current budget, what I'm concerned about is the police cars, one of the things. I hear those are cut out of the budget. That's an integral part of the department. That's our office, me as a former police officer. Those cars run 24/7. They get it on them, the next guy from ship to ship to ship. And I look at other places in the budget, nothing good. DPW, $450,000 for snowplow trucks. If snowplow fleets only use, I know they got the single axle trucks, they use some of them during the summer, but generally, that's only used 3, 4 months out of the year. $450,000, and that fleet sits there most of the year. Why, you know, maybe they can back off on that one year, you know, for the police cars. Chippers, you know, don't know if you absolutely need it. I know they need their equipment. Equipment has to be replaced, but I think some cuts could have been made there. Double axle dump trucks, so on and so forth, other things that went on. Another luxury item, metal and paint, rebuilding it. I was on traffic safety. I thought it was a great idea, but I think this is a luxury we can't afford. I know some of it is CHIPS money, but I think 390,000 isn't. It's like, that's something that could be put on hold. It's been that way since I've been born. It works, leave it alone. Extending Farnsworth, not necessary. $60,000 just so the people in Wilson Park could have a little shorter cut. Getting the,
That stuff isn't being done.
it's in the budget that I read the other day. Maybe it was cut, maybe I wasn't told about it, but the copy that I got was still in there. But anyhow,
None of that stuff's being done.
all right. How about this then? How about the mayor's assistant? Is he getting $5,000 raise this year?
No.
It's not still in there.
No. The mayor's assistant?
All right, because that, I didn't realize that was cut off, but that was supposed to be in there. But there are other ways, like I say, my main concern is the future. I know next year I could see a 5 to 10% increase. It's all because you guys have been depleting the unappropriated funds for this long.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ed, I do have a similar concern because what I've seen from this budget, because it looks a little different than when I first got it in October, right? And one of the items was taking $750,000 out of the reserve, which is less than previous years, but previous years have been $1 million, over $1 million, and so on. And, you know, you can keep taking out of your savings account, but eventually it runs out. And what worries me also is the fact that, it seems we have plans to take part of our workers' comp reserve and put that to the unappropriated, which will be appropriated towards next year, right? So $950,000, almost $1 million, allocated for our budget. And so my question becomes, what do we do next year?
Austin, what do you suggest?
What do you suggest, Austin?
Instead
Well,
of doing that?
Well, it is an interesting question because.
And where were you bringing these questions up during our budget committee
Well,
meetings?
I would like to ask too, because like I said, when I first was handed the budget, the done quote budget, and
You were
beginning of
there
October.
during the budget, though.
Let me finish. Beginning of October, it said there was a $3.7 million gap, and I said, okay, well, what's going on here? And that's when the budget committee started to sort of dissolve and other conversations were had, and once we received the budget message and the finalized budget and so on, it took some time to realize that $950,000 was gonna be allocated towards next year. But, so my point is, this is one of the reasons why I got involved, right? You noticed over time, we kept taking money out, and I didn't choose this position. I didn't choose to run because I liked the ideas and the way we were governing. I chose to run because of issues like this and to not kick the can down the road. And I know Amanda has done her job effectively. She has given as much information, all information as she can, and suggestions to try and resolve some of this.
Well,
But-
that's why we have you involved. As a matter of fact, you are on the budget committee with Bob Pecoraro.
Right,
For just that
exactly.
reason,
And
so that you can put forth your ideas
sure,
on ways to stave off this
Right.
problem
so,
before it goes into the new year.
so $1 million issue wasn't just this year. It's been happening every year.
No, but since you came on, you had that thought, so
And-
we
but-
wanted your input.
And at no point during the budget committee meeting did we talk about allocating $1 million of our reserve. We didn't speak on that matter, and that's a big amount, right?
You
And
weren't at every meeting either.
Well, as I'm told, there were some other meetings that I wasn't invited to.
But as you remember, Austin, the first budget is the mayor's budget. He solely makes the decisions. The second budget is your guys' budget.
So my question is, if we've done this every year, I mean, we know that we don't have $1 million the next year out of that reserve, and next year we'll only have 1.2 million left.
And then where the question becomes, Austin, what do you suggest we do to
Well,
avoid
I
that?
think it is a team effort, right? And I question why,
Well,
we haven't looked-
we need you on our team,
Right.
so weigh in
So-
on that.
so this isn't something that happened overnight, Eric, right?
No, but this
As
is a new
shown-
year that you can get involved.
Right, so it's evident that this has been an accumulation of these decisions that have led up to this issue, really, and it is a serious issue. We have 2 workers' comp cases next year that could potentially deplete our workers' comp reserve. Why haven't we looked at the $1 million of overtime we allocate every year? Why haven't we looked at our $1 million in workers' comp that we have? Why haven't we looked at a different healthcare provider that provides the same sort of services?
We have.
But well, then why hasn't it gone down, right? So,
It did
same
go down last
services,
year.
but at a competitive cost. I don't know where
Well-
this golf course, $220,000 is coming from. I didn't see that. I mean, that was never discussed, and what happened to,
Austin, what golf course you're talking about, $220,000?
we are budgeting $220,000 for the golf course. This is in addition to the $400,000 allocated from last year in the mayor's budget message. So, and we're amortizing yet again. I know there was a phrase Amanda had used last year in an article, I believe it was debt diet. And it was a great idea, right? Well, let's get rid of some of our debts. We're not accumulating interest over the years and not kicking the can. And amortizing, if anyone doesn't know, is basically taking money from your retirement payments that the city has to make and just putting interest on that and some loan, right? And it builds up. And we have around $2 million that we gotta pay up, and there's interest on that. So why are we going back to the old ways, right? Why are we taking
What
out?
are the new ways, Austin?
So wait, well, why are we bonding $560,000 for roads, for sidewalks, for a bike path? I all about bike paths,
I
but
know.
I don't wanna pay interest on a bike path, right? And sometimes we do have to make tough decisions, like the mayor has 10% here and, you know, a hiring freeze there and so on, but
Well, when I suggested looking at the golf course and looking at every possible way to save money for the city, you told me that was drastic.
right, so, but there's other solutions, and that was a last minute effort to try and find something. And I don't wanna remove services, I don't wanna
No,
attack any of our parks or anything like that. But it just seems like we're being dishonest to what the future holds in our finances. We have big issues coming up. We have contractual increases are just gonna continue to climb that we can't fight, we can't reduce. We can't reduce minimum wage, right? And that continues to climb. Healthcare continues to climb. We have dispatch that continues to climb here. And utilities and fuel costs. I mean, we know
You're-
these things.
You know what, you're pointing out the problems again, but I need to hear the solution.
So again, why do we have $1 million in overtime,
That's a question,
right? Well, why haven't we looked at it, right?
that's what I'm, look, the
And
answer.
workers' comp too, it's a lot, and we should be looking at someone else.
One of the things, Austin, I think you're missing here is, number one, some of the discussions you were not there for. The other thing is that a lot of the things that you're mentioning and others have mentioned, we're well aware of. Mr. Smolinski just made some points. We're well aware of what's coming down the line and what doesn't look good and what might be some real challenges. That's why we have to move into this gradually, because we have no choice. If we don't move into this carefully and we don't start things sooner, which I proposed when I read my budget message a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that in the new year, right after this, we're gonna be starting on the next year. We're not waiting. This is already in play.
Okay.
And there's things that are being suggested you can't do overnight. The only option is raise taxes way up. Our community is not gonna go for that. Yes, we know the taxes have to go up a little bit, and whether they should have or shouldn't have in the past, that's beside the point. It's over. There's nothing we can do about the past. We have to go from here on.
How do we move forward?
And so what's being proposed is either we get things moving faster, we increase our revenues, we have to be more creative in how we increase our revenues, whatever, and start sooner, and we all agree on that. There's no disagreement. The only alternative to all this is raise the taxes way up. And I don't think the community's prepared for that either. So that's something we have to think about too. It isn't just the idea, we should have raised the taxes. What we should have done, or previous administrations should have done, doesn't matter
But
now.
you all were previous administration, and we
No,
are
we weren't.
creating the past today.
We weren't previous, I wasn't here in previous administration,
You were here last year,
last year, but previous administrations, you're
but that's
talking back.
previous.
We can only go from here forward.
Where's the forward, Austin?
That's
So-
all we can do. So your options are either some of these things people are suggesting being brought in step by step through careful analysis, or raising the taxes so that it's unaffordable to the public. Those are your options.
And last night we said, Wheatfield's raising taxes 3.8%. Okay, that's what they're doing in the neighborhood next door.
I don't care what they're
Town to
doing.
town, I do, because it shows you how we're trying to keep things in check. We're comparing and contrasting, Austin. We need to know what other municipalities are doing that doesn't work and what they're doing that does work. And a 3.2 tax increase, I mean, do you want, Niagara Falls is getting a $12.3 million bailout. Maybe we ought to, you know.
That's
maybe-
great, and we got
We're not in
2.5
that.
million from Cuomo that we never planned to match. I mean, these are things that we have to think of when we're going after these improvements
But
too.
let's not hear it from you when the budget's being presented. Let's hear about this from you all year
So a
long.
lot of these issues were unapparent during the budget committee process. And that's the point I'm trying to make here, and this is very complicated, and it takes a long time to vet through it, as I'm sure you all know.
And that's why you should have been at every
We should have
meeting.
been at every meeting.
And if I couldn't make it because of work, I couldn't make it because I didn't know about it, that's another thing. It's your job, Art, to inform us about the budget. If I
And
couldn't
you
make a
have been
meeting or anyone
informed.
else,
You
there
get-
should be emails on it.
You have been informed, and you have a copy, and you've had a copy.
And you're missing the
So-
point.
so-
You're missing the point. Last year was the first year that Art and I talked about including the council in the mayor's budget process. It was never done before.
as a
So-
liaison, right? As
Well,
someone,
as someone to bring back to the council some of the problems to preemptively work on
Right.
problems before they become catastrophic.
so if I'm unaware of
that's-
certain
And that's where
problems,
Bob,
how?
you gotta go, you gotta go to the meetings.
Yeah, right.
Bob
right.
was there and Bob has been.
Well, you've been trying to tell me my job, your
so-
job is to make yourself aware.
Well, it's mayor's budget, right? So Bob, where's this $220,000 from golf course?
Where?
Here's just one example. Where is it? What is he talking about?
It's the improvements to the golf course.
But where is it in the budget?
It's in there. Everything's in the budget. The budget is presented.
What
And
line
it's-
item is it in the budget?
I can't tell you the line item. I'd have to go through the whole budget, which
Amanda,
you
do you
should
know
have
where it
done
is in
by
the
now.
budget?
Well, this couldn't have came up just today, what about yesterday? I didn't have that question
Maybe it
yesterday.
happened last night, someone brought it up, the budget message.
Well, she would have brought it up.
I think that might have been an error.
So that's an error. So the mayor's budget message is an error.
I think the 220,000 is.
Well, how is that being transparent? Are we gonna tell people that if it's wrong?
I wanna hear it.
I mean,
You've turned a public hearing into a budget work session.
it's a public hearing. It's a public discussion. The
It
people
is, and we
deserve to
had
know
one
what's
yesterday.
going on in the city.
Right, and they deserve to know yesterday as well. Do you usually just operate in the final hour is what I'm asking?
I operate in the public setting. That's where I operate.
Well, we need you to be at the meetings for the public budget.
He's making very good points at this public hearing about finance.
That's
and
good.
I'd like to hear.
I'd like him to
I'm
make very
interested in
good
these
points.
questions.
Well, I'd like him to make very good points all year round,
Well,
all year
we should
round.
get together more often and have this discussion. I think this is
Sonia,
wonderful. He's
Sonia,
bringing things
Sonia,
out.
Sonia, there's no comments from the audience, please. No comments from the audience.
Listen, this is not Russia. God
Sonia.
sake.
Sonia,
Sonia, we need
the
to.
rules apply to everyone, including yourself.
What?
The rules apply to everyone, including yourself. You had your
I
5,
know,
man,
this
you've
is,
had your 5 minutes.
this is a small town.
You had your 5 minutes.
We're interested in the dollars.
Great. Well,
Appropriation.
let's hear from somebody that wants to talk about it, not just you. Mark, did you want to get up and speak?
Mark, feel free to speak.
I'm probably gonna throw a little gasoline on the fire, but
Now,
our
I would
code
like
is
to-
3/8 Avenue, okay?
Three,
Uh,
three.
3/8 Avenue, Dan, sorry.
That's all right.
Listen, folks, what I would like to do is, everybody's talking about transparency. Well, in the past, and kinda now, it looks like we could see right through you, because every year, there's no tax increases in election year. You're self-fulfilling your future election, okay? This is the way it comes across. We should have been doing 1/4%, 0.5% over the years, okay? There's been one party control in here. I'm not accusing anyone personally here, okay? I happen to like all of you, okay? We've been always very cordial. But we need to have a new set of ways of doing things, okay? Everybody needs to be involved, the name calling, arguing back and forth, and I'm not blaming anybody. All right, we're gonna have a major problem, as everybody is aware of, including you and the council, okay? But what I would like to extract from everybody is that when we come to the budget next year, we won't go across and kick the can even farther forward and do a 0% tax increase just so we can get reelected, okay? That would be what I would like to ask.
Can't do that.
Pardon me?
I don't, we feel confident that next year, we will not have to raise taxes again?
Okay.
That's a question.
Mr. Mayor?
Do we feel
I'm sorry.
Who are you asking?
Art?
I was asking the mayor. Go ahead.
Are you asking me?
Yes, I was asking, go ahead.
I'm not a prophet.
Okay.
I can't predict the future. All we can do is look at what seems to be, and we have to look at what possibly lies ahead, and we have to try to make some decisions early on, as I said before. As far as predicting exactly, I can't tell you.
Are we
Numbers
too, are we
don't
too,
lie.
I'm sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
not talking numbers, I'm answering a
Well,
question.
we're talking about the budget. The budget is
I'm
numbers.
trying to
What-
address
I'm asking Art a question.
his question.
Mr. Mayor.
Can you just let Art talk, please?
So if you will allow me to finish before you chirp. We have no way of knowing that, Mark. Chances are, we may very well have to raise taxes. If there is a way not to, maybe that'll be the way. The council is gonna have to decide that. They decide the money. But, I can't tell you exactly what we're gonna do.
One further thing, when we're estimating our sales tax revenue and our revenues, are we estimating high? Are we estimating too high? Would we be better off going under a little worse prognosis?
Sometimes that might be better, however, from indications we got from the county this year, we're okay with that.
We based it on what the county was projecting, and we did less than what the county was using.
All right, but I just don't want this to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, as it has been in the years past. I'm accusing no one here of all of a sudden there's gonna be a zero tax increase because it's an election year. Okay, I want everybody to look at it honestly and, give it your best shot at that. Okay, because it's continued in the past, it's been one party, one thing. Now Austin's in here, he's kind of being a check and balance, and I know he gets under your skin, guys, but you know what, that's a good.
No, but I wanna hear things from him, he needs to work, this is a council of 5. Everybody here that you see
I
in
wasn't
front.
criticizing you.
No, I'm saying just, I wanted to just share that with you. So we expect input from everybody. It's not just, I appreciate the questions that he asked, I appreciate, some of that, but I'd like to see a little bit more on the solution side, because, he ran on a campaign of, we need to do things differently. So, we're listening, I'm hearing more of what we did before, but we need to know what we're gonna do going ahead. And I've been on this council for 8 years, and you talk about budgets, I'm a conservative Republican, it's not a surprise. Am I in favor of raising taxes, where it's prudent? But that doesn't qualify me as being irresponsible. It qualifies me as trying to find the best happy medium between raising taxes and providing the vital services of this city. And I don't wanna cut the services to you, the taxpayers. That's my bottom line being up here. It's not about, what we're gonna do next year, it's about what we need to do, and I think Donna, I don't know if you were here when she started off here with her, suggestions of starting in December to work to next year. Those are the things that are gonna get us better prepared so that we're not kicking the can down the road. But when I invite my fellow councilman and put him on budget committee, that was very successful last year with Jeff Glatz. I expect to hear back and them to report back to the council on the concerns with the mayor's budget and concerns that need to be addressed and solutions. And that's just the bottom line. It's not a harsh expectation, and I don't think I'm being hard on anyone. I think I'm being fair.
I wasn't questioning whether you were being fair. I was questioning whether, you were kind of ganging up on somebody here.
No,
Okay?
not even that. This is what I expect, that we all work together. And it's not a question.
And I think we've all tried through the years.
Well, let me just give you a quick synopsis of when I came on and we had Mayor Larry Seuss. When I got on, okay, we're gonna share this. I came into a $1.9 million budget deficit. Now, maybe Larry Seuss thought he was gonna get reelected against Ort. So I walked in as the new guy to try to balance a budget I had nothing to do with, Austin. And I had to try to figure out where he had this $1.9 million budget deficit. So it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you're gonna be faced with budget deficits. Guess what? I didn't say to the public, I didn't do this. My job was to fix it. So let's talk about fixing budgets, working together, not what Larry Seuss did or what the Republicans did and what they didn't do. Now we need to focus and work together on what we're going to do. So,
Let's work together in a fair and impartial manner.
right, but I'm just giving you that whole thing about, you talk about, what happened years past and how it was done and for election years and things like that. I could bring that up just as a point of order. I was the new guy too, and I walked into a $1.9 million budget
Budget has a
deficit.
4-to-1 advantage on the council with you.
So,
We're
But-
not
politics or
talking
not?
about, and
But
you're
I'm
right.
just saying.
You're right, okay. We can argue this all night, we probably have over the years. But I just wanted to, let's make this not about, fulfilling our reelection, let's make this about
Nope.
tonight is about the budget.
It's about the budget, it really is.
And I said at the beginning that it is a tough budget, school board budgets are tough. I mean, nobody wants to raise taxes, we get that. But my suggestion at the beginning of this, meeting was to get this going early, so we can look at where our problems are and see if we can, work on them earlier rather than later.
Okay. We do need a whole lot of changes, you are correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's budget, please step forward and state your name and address.
Again, my name is Mark, 346 Gower Street. I just wanna say thanks for the council tonight. Great job for what you're doing for our city of North Tonawanda. Papa Pagoro, I guess I gotta pick on you.
No problem.
I know, we all have a financial budget. Doesn't matter if you're city, town, individual, corporate, whatever. I have a financial budget as well as every individual here in this, chamber. And I'd like to say, I love the fire truck with, rides for the winter walk. You have a few connections probably, I don't.
You'd be surprised.
I'll be surprised December 1st. I'm joking with it, but, on the other hand, the kids love, like, when I play my accordion at the farmer's market, now I play for the Salvation Army of the Tonawandas. Donations, like, started last Saturday at Tops on Meadow Drive, and you can see me there this Saturday from 11 to 2 p.m. The kids love animals. I mean, the fire truck is very nice, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying nothing against anybody here and about out of the box. It's just, to me, I was on the front page of the Tonawanda newspaper back in 2014 with not the fire truck. I love the fire truck, don't get me wrong. I mean, all I'm saying with my 3 minutes of time with Eric, that let's bring the tradition back. If not this year of 1,100, 1,200 with your connection, maybe next year. I'm not asking for a miracle. All I'm asking that the kids love animals.
Thank you, Mark.
But they like fire trucks too.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, council.
Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's budget?
Last but not least here, been interesting, I'm kind of having an anxiety attack over there in my chair, but, a lot of things this year with the budget, and it has been difficult. We started the committee last year, and, Alderwoman Brown, you mentioned that you'd like us to start earlier in this year. I don't, disagree with that, but it wasn't that we weren't working on the budget. I'm not sure what messages were, coming back between the budget committee. We weren't formally having meetings, so, just a little synopsis. Bob probably knows because he sat on several of these committees doing a lot of this work. And as we formed our budget committee last year in 2018, there were a lot of things that we talked about. And it seems like maybe, I'm glad no one's denying that our financial situation is probably not the best. We could all say we wish we increased taxes. I know you don't want to increase taxes. I'm an accountant. I'd like to see them go up a little bit every single year. Should we have used all of our unappropriated fund balance? No. Unfortunately, I wasn't here to advise you that, and I wasn't in that position. It's something we've talked about since last year. I know that no one wanted to use a portion of unappropriated fund balance. But like you're saying, we are where we are right now. And we've all sat up here, it's frustrating, we're all at each other's throats. It's kind of gotten, like ugly, like we all wanna do something, we all wanna do something better, and we're kind of losing sight of the fact. There's things, I'm not happy with, there's things, like Austin won't be happy with, there's things, the rest of the council won't be happy with, things maybe the mayor's not happy about. But like you said, we're working on those things and we're working together to change those things. Working together, it's kind of falling apart a little in my opinion, but, I made a list today. I came in, I kind of predicted how this meeting was gonna go. But EJ's not here tonight, right? No. He brought up some things yesterday, and he always has good ideas. And I've said this before at many council meetings. If you're a member of the public and you have an idea and you want to share that with me, or you are curious what's going on in our office, or curious what's going on with the budget, I have many residents that will email me or call my office. I prefer people don't drop in, but if you'd like to make an appointment or anything like that, I'm happy to talk to anybody about what's going on, like in our government, where we're going. Also, I'm sure there's a lot of, educated people in our community, probably people with financial backgrounds. If you have an idea and you wanna come to me, I'm more than happy to hear those things. I've had a few, I respond to them all, I consider everything. One of the major things we're working on right now is workers' compensation. I have a gentleman who has approached me, and he really wants to help as we go through that process. So, as we move through that, his comments are definitely welcome, and I appreciate it. Just my brief list is closing remarks here. This year, we have initiated contracts and are in the works of having 20-year capital improvement plans for both the water and wastewater treatment plant facilities. Everyone has been great with supporting those things, and there's a huge upfront cost to those. So depleting some of your funds might, that might happen. It's difficult. We have limited resources for 37 years, and what we're trying to do, and I think we need to keep this on our radar, is it's gonna be frustrating. We're dealing with 37 years of doing things the wrong way. Government has not functioned. It's always been Band-Aid approach, and for a year now, we said we have to start being proactive, and we need to continue to be proactive. Not, yes, the budget got delayed. There were reasons why it got delayed. It was difficult. That was never an intention. We've been working on it. In my opinion, we've been working on it all year, and I'll tell you why, because we have these things we've been working on. So we have our water and wastewater facilities. We've been working on those. We talked a lot about technology and moving in the right direction. In my office this year, we formed a committee we've never had an IT provider for the city in the time I've been here, which is a huge hurdle if you want to use technology as your basis for moving forward. So we put a committee together, and we have an IT company in here. We did go with our lowest person, so that contract is not going as well as we hoped. It's up for consideration again in January. So we're hoping to move forward in the right direction with that. So getting the infrastructure we need in place. There are still some offices that have typewriters. So, getting an IT in here and having that infrastructure, that's a step in the right direction. That's something we've been working on. Prior to a year ago, we didn't even have firewalls or backups or disaster recovery plans. So to say that we can just automatically be working on this a crazy infrastructure and linking all of our departments up, that's not possible because we didn't even have an IT person, and it's just not there, and these things take time, and the resources here are limited. My office is very small, we're very busy day to day, and everybody else has their day-to-day things. So everyone, I had on my IT committee, I had 3 police officers, a gentleman from the wastewater plant, and Dan. So we don't really have anyone designated, but that's all the departments coming together for a greater need. So people are coming together, and we are working towards things. And I think that's important for the residents to know, other than, right here we're talking about all of our shortfalls, but these things have been going on for the last year, and they're things that I'm very proud of. There's a lot of with the whole technology, my office has converted our financial management software. The software we use in our office was from 1987, so we're using that, and then we're going through a conversion with our payroll. As we go through the payroll, it's going to be a system that I wish BJ was here because he'd be happy to hear this. I would have spoke a little more yesterday, but I want to save it for tonight because it was actually the budget vote tonight. With some of these things, once that's up and running, so last October was when I started the software conversion. I finished up with that conversion in June of this year. So we have 2 people in the office that worked on that, and now we have my personnel payroll specialist. She's only been there for a year, and she's great. I will say that I do have, in my unbiased opinion, the best staff in the city in my office, but they work hard up there, and my personnel payroll specialist has only been there for a year, and she's already she's taken on this whole project of converting our whole entire payroll system, which is in turn gonna create an HR portal. So instead of all the clericals in the city tracking all the time through like a Excel spreadsheets and all that, and then reporting that to us, everything will be interfaced. So there won't be any more. They do paperwork, they submit it to us, and they re-input that. But these things all take time. The foundation is there. So we're moving forward, and hopefully we can start to get a better IT situation, and then start getting some of these other departments linked into the accounting system. So these are kind of some of the things that we've been working on, and when all your payroll records are on paper, it's not easy to that conversion doesn't happen overnight. So it is time consuming. It's a lot of data, it's a lot of inputs, and not all the data's there, so we gotta go and pull files. So, we work on it, and laying that groundwork is important. Maybe we didn't make as much progress as we wanted, but in my opinion, we made a lot of progress. We're just not seeing it in our numbers yet, but we're moving forward, and it's frustrating. There are things we have to do. I'm not denying there's things we have to do, with our numbers, but, we know that we've already had that discussion tonight, so I just kind of want to focus on some of these things. We mentioned a little bit about workers' compensation and healthcare. Those are both things that we've been visiting. City Attorney Luke Brown's been working with me a lot on our workers' comp claims management. Neither of us are by any means risk managers, but we've come together, and it's a huge budget line for us. We've been working together. We actually have, I have an RFP I put out last week. So we're going to be looking for claims management and loss control services. It's already a contract that we're involved in, but we really haven't evaluated our goals with that in a direction. We may or may not stay with the same firm, but it hasn't been looked at since 1999. So that RFP's out. We should have it back by November 29th. So that's in the works, and we're meeting with our consultant now and working some things out and seeing how we can improve our program until we make the transition, or if we stay with them, we're not sure. So those things, huge budget lines for us. We're looking at them. Healthcare, that's definitely on my radar for this year. It's been on my to-do list since I've been here. We did start this year with the wellness program. I think you're the chair of that, Alderman Zazoka, right? You got volunteered for that?
I started that wellness committee to try and curb the healthcare costs, but then DiBergilio was the chairperson of the wellness committee at this point.
Okay. So that was just a joke then, huh? So that is one way. Whether or not wellness committees work, I think that's still up for debate, but we can't help but try. So we do have meetings once or twice a month on that. So we're working with Blue Cross Blue Shield and our current broker. So it's not a whole lot of upfront effort for us to be involved. It's a lot of work on them. So it was something small we could do in the meantime to, hopefully it works. You never know, but I don't think they would offer it if it didn't. So not a lot of upfront investment for us, so it's worth a try. A couple other things is, we moved forward with hiring a grant writer last year. That's been really successful for the city. I think they've paid for themselves for the next 60 years, so, that's a nice return on that investment. Cuomo maybe just announced that we've been working on the wastewater treatment plant, capital improvement plan. It's something that's definitely dominated a lot of our time, and we wanted to make a big effort towards that, and they just announced yesterday that of the $5.8 million in improvements that we hope to make, that the city's gonna be awarded $1.47 million. So that's a huge chunk for us. Rotella, they're our grant consultant, they were working with, the engineer we hired to do the capital improvement plan. So that award happened yesterday, which is nice because it'll give us a lot of money to kind of move forward with some of those things we might not have been able to do without increasing, the user fees on those. We've kind of been changing the way we bond things. We skipped capital improvement plan this year. That was a strategic effort. Moving forward, we're hoping, what we're working on is age-based equipment. Every piece of equipment, I think we talked about this a little bit last year. Replacing any of our equipment and all those items based on age and repair and maintenance costs. So I know like Mark's department's been really good. It's required now that if you want to even submit to have a piece of equipment, that you have to have a record of the repair and maintenance cost of that vehicle. So everything will be ranked by priority now, as opposed to everyone coming into those budget meetings and just saying, I need this, I need that. So now we can really say, what is our oldest equipment? What has the highest repair and maintenance cost? So if we start replacing things by the highest R&M cost, then we're getting rid of the equipment that costs us the most. This year we finally started making some progress with Memorial Pool. That's been a hot topic since I've been here. What do we do with this pool? What do we do with this pool? Unfortunately, I think it's seen the end of its useful life, and it's probably a touchy subject. I think the community's half and half on that. Some of us are nostalgic, and some of us, like me, who have, my son's a little older now, but I see that, and I see opportunities for Memorial Park, or Payne Avenue Park is right in the middle of our community, and to open that up. And the one takeaway I have from our pool study is that 80% of the people who patronize the pool are not in the water. If you're a Memorial Pool, there's no socialization. There's no community about that pool. Yes, it's nice. It's a tribute to. I don't discount like what that pool stands for, and we can incorporate that memorial into something new. But we have a really nice park there, and that's a good opportunity to move forward and have something really nice. Somewhere for our community to get together and socialize. Somewhere you want to be. A couple other small things, so not just these big things we're working on. We've been working, I think, Dan was starting to work for, we kind of talked about this last year in our budget meeting, and it was just me going through a list of random things, like, I'll run like an expense detail, and I know the one thing we talked about was, like printing costs. That's something super small, but I'm not sure if you completed that process or how we're moving forward, but I know Dan was looking at like some of our printing costs. In my office, we also started printing checks in-house, so it's maybe like $2,000-$3,000 I'm gonna save the city on printing checks in-house, because I'm not paying someone to do it. Those are little things, they're not big ticket things, but all these small things collectively, at least it gets the idea in everyone's head that we're moving forward. And I think we have a really strong group of department heads right now, and for the most part, I feel everyone's, cost conscientious. Everyone's working together now more than in the previous 6 years I've been here, and it's really good to see. And the attitudes are different, and we're all, I think everyone's tired of like the old school mentality and how politics works, but we're all aware of that, and everyone's just moving, in my opinion, internally here, and with our department heads and our employees, there's just a good group of people, and everyone's working together really well and helping each other out. And in the past, it used to, everyone was close to the idea of sharing equipment, and that would create issues. But now everybody's working together, and everybody wants to share. So having a lot less of that is very helpful with some of these, goals we're headed towards. So, that's kind of, I shouldn't say all I have, because I've been up here rambling, but I just didn't want to lose sight. We all know, we've all heard today, the things we, we shouldn't have been doing, and, I've been expressing those concerns. Ultimately, the budget goes back to the mayor, he gets to make the tough decisions. I'm here for my suggestions. I know you guys don't always like those. I'm probably a little more harsh than anybody sitting up there, so, the public doesn't vote for me, it's not in my hands, so, I don't envy you, any of you, for, like, you guys all know the things I'd love to cut or rearrange or move around, but, at the end of the day, it's not my vision, it's not my goals. I'm here to support your direction, give you my suggestions, my guidance, how we can move forward. I think we've been, and I definitely, since last year, there's been a lot of support towards this long-term momentum. I hope we can keep it up, and I think we have a lot of work to do to, with any investment, there's a huge upfront cost, and unfortunately, we just can't, it's very difficult to make that investment with our limited resources, but, all the things we've accomplished, I think we've done a lot with what we have, so those
I
are my
agree.
closing remarks.
I agree,
Thank
thank
you,
you so much. Art, did you want to say something?
No, I just want to point out, first of all, Amanda, thank you for your comments. You mentioned you thought you were rambling, I thought you were doing a pretty darn good job. With Amanda being able to give you a little bit more detail and more information on what is taking place behind the scenes, it goes back to what some of you have been suggesting. It's going on. And transition is not easy. Transition is difficult. If things have been done a certain way for a certain number of years, especially if it's been a really long period of time, when you go to change systems, and there are a lot of systems to change within city government, it takes time. Any transition is difficult, no matter what it is, until people become of another mindset, start accepting different ways of doing things, which is very hard for people. Some are more adaptable than others, and some understand things quicker than others. It's a learning process. And there are so many rules and regulations from the state and the federal government and every agency that has to be gone through with the legal department and everything else. It's very complicated. So you don't do things overnight. But as you heard from Amanda, a lot is going on. And she has been in my office many times, and she has sat down with me, and she's made suggestions, and there are many of them that she has made that I think are excellent, and I think should be and probably will be instituted as we go on. In the meantime, she's had her frustrations too, because she has to work with people at times that don't necessarily understand things to the depth that she does. They have to be taught, so in her position, she has to be an instructor as well as a leader in terms of the economics of the city. So there's a lot to what she has to do, and of course, then passing it on to us, and then we have many, many questions, and so it has taken time. But I think down the road, in the long run, I think you will see more changes coming. We have no choice. You have to change, and that's only one. That's something that's definite, other than taxes and death, is change. And I think it's happening, and I think she pointed it out very well. And to say her office has been really under pressure this year is an understatement, because she has been under a lot of pressure. And especially when we have to debate things where she feels one way and maybe the council or myself feels another way, it's an educational process. So thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, Amanda. Dan, you want to wrap this up? Or?
At this time, since there's No longer any other comments. We will go into approving the 2019 budget. So I need to go, a motion to go into that part of this meeting.
I'll make that motion to go into that next part.
I'll
Moved by Alderman
second.
Zadelka, second by Alderwoman Braun.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, approval of the minutes of the regular session, November 6, 2018.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Zadelka,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Berube.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, in regards to the budget, I have adoption of the 2019 general fund budget, $37,045,886.
On the question?
I'll make the motion, we accept the budget.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second that.
second by Alderman
Wait a
Zadelka.
I'm
minute.
gonna say,
Now he
So-
can ask his question.
it's either or. So, you know, not only the time frame that we gave residents, someone in the crowd had mentioned it, are they gonna make changes now? 2 days I didn't feel it was appropriate for public discussion to really be put into this budget. And although we stated it this year, or today, that we will work towards a better timeline for the future. And we will make promises about looking into different pieces of how we govern and how we can reduce these costs, and promises about a lot of things. And I feel that I was excluded from some of the decisions that were made on this, regardless if other council members and the mayor
I disagree.
disagrees. But with that said, I look forward to these promises, and I don't feel responsible for some of these decisions that were made. And I question the financial stability of next year's budget and whether allocating $1 million of our reserve is the appropriate thing to do. And I will
look
not
forward
be
to your
voting
solution.
for this budget.
I look forward to your solutions and your input. Is there something you'd like to input tonight to put into effect to impact this budget today?
I've said my solutions.
I really haven't heard anything concrete aside from tonight. And if we wanted to exclude you, I just wanted to say, we wouldn't have had you on the budget committee
Mhm.
if we wanted to exclude you.
I
So
initially had
I
asked to be
find,
on the
you
budget
asked and we
committee.
complied, but let me finish. If I wanted to exclude you or anybody on this council thought that we didn't want to hear anything you had to say, we wouldn't have excluded you in the active budget sessions with Amanda, with Dan, with Art Pappas, and Bob Pecoraro. So
Right.
I disagree that you didn't have the opportunity to weigh in on anything you wanted to weigh in on or make any suggestions along the way at any of the meetings you were in. That's just my closure on that topic. So
You
I have a
have to
motion.
continue to work on transparency, Eric, if that's how you feel.
Listen, the transparency, I'd like you to give me an email, and also we can get your idea of transparency as well.
Sounds good.
How's that? All right, we'll work towards that. We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this item, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zadelka.
Aye. Motion carried.
Adoption of the 2019 water fund budget, $2,992,900. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderwoman Braun,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Pecoraro.
I have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this item as well?
Alderman Tyler,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zadelka.
Aye. Motion carried.
In regard to adoption of the 2019 sewer fund budget, I need to include an email from our superintendent of water, Bill Davignon. He made a clerical error when he was filling out his personnel portion of the budget, and he left out a operator's salary. So we need to increase the appropriations by $64,067. So adoption of the 2019 sewer fund budget of $4,586,639.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
Can I have roll call on this item, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye. Motion carried.
I need a motion to bring two items to the floor. They both are submitted by the city accountant.
By who?
City accountant. They are, I will read them. As part of the mayor's 2019 budget, the mayor has proposed transferring $200,000 reserved for workers' compensation to be appropriate fund balance at item line 12/31/2018. If the common council approves mayor's budget as presented, it is necessary that the common council passes a resolution approving the transfer of the $200,000 from the city workers' compensation reserve unappropriated fund at 12/31/2018. Her second item is, on July 3rd, 2018, the common council approved the 1/1/2019, 12/31/2019 seasonal and part-time wage schedule. As part of the mayor's 2019 budget, modifications were made to the schedule that was previously adopted by the council on July 3rd. If the common council approves the mayor's budget as presented, it is necessary that the common council passes a resolution approving the revised 1/1/2019 through 12/31/2019 seasonal and part-time wage schedule attached. Do I have a motion to bring those items to the floor?
Can I speak on that part-time wage schedule?
Sure.
I just want to understand. In the past, as long as I can remember, the city had a 3-tier part-time wage schedule. So if you were here 1 year, you make, for example, like $9. Your second year, they would give the part-timer step increases. With the new part-time wage laws, it's kind of going to be one of our big challenges to overcome. For anyone who's not familiar, minimum wage is it's going to go up to $11.10 next year, then I believe $12.80 the following year, $13.10, and then it's going to gradually increase till it's $15 an hour. So we're going to be faced with a situation, for example, when if you have a lifeguard at a pool, they should be compensated a little more than a laborer who's working in the park, just for the fact that they have a little more responsibility and they have to get certifications, or there's a tier above that, which is a pool supervisor. As the minimum wage becomes $15 an hour, we're also going to have to in some way compensate these lifeguards and the pool supervisors a little more. So it's going to be a significant challenge. What happened with this budget was the proposed schedule with the 3-tier structure, with everybody getting increases based on how long they've been here. That was a $79,000 impact to the city. So to keep in mind, that's a New York State mandate. We have no control over that. So all these things aren't fun to deal with. We don't want to. It was a way to not cut the services, cut any of the programs. I think some of the programs had to be cut a week or so, maybe with rec. I'm not sure how that panned out, but the minimum wage increase is something we're going to be faced with every single year. So what we did was we removed the 3-tier structure of that, and we designed it so no one would experience the pay decrease going into next year. So many of the clericals in this building, they would remain at the same wage, and we haven't really gotten into many discussions about 2020, 2021, but the minimum wage increase is designed to close that gap of what's fair and not fair. So we're sticking a little more to, if that minimum wage is to make that a fair wage, we'll probably start paying more employees around that minimum wage level instead of having the 3-tiered structure where people are making a little more. So that's the reason for that, and I think we had about an $18,000 cost savings from adjusting that schedule, which was good. So we're going to evaluate that and do the best we can do with the part-time workers and that mandate from the state.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, man.
Do I have a motion to bring those two items to the floor?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Berube.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on that, please?
Alderman Stylek,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Motion, yeah, aye. Motion carried.
Okay, number one, accountant, permission to transfer $200,000 reserved for workers' compensation reserve to unappropriated fund balance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Braun,
I'll second that.
second by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Stylek,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye. Motion carries.
Again, from the accountant regarding approving the revised January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019 seasonal and part-time wage schedule. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make that motion. Being from the budget committee, that was a big topic of discussion for us. And I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call, please?
Alderman Stylek,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. So we'd like to thank everyone who came up and spoke on tonight's budget. Again, tonight was a budget hearing, was our second public budget hearing. I don't believe that we've ever had two budget hearings, but because we felt the need and we heard the need of the people wanting to be able to state their concerns about the budget, we had a second meeting. And yes, we're passionate about what we do up here, and yes, we're gonna do what we can to deliver the vital services to the residents and at a reasonable cost rate to the taxpayers. And that's what we have in line here. And it gets emotional when, you know, somebody comes up and says something that may not be correct. I apologize if that comes off that way. However, you know, as taxpayers, we want you to be informed. And, you know, all of our phones are listed. If you have concerns and you want us to be proactive on something, then give us a call, give your alderman a call, give the mayor a call, and let us know what you think about before, you know, you wait till a meeting to come and do it. Because you may find the response is given us appropriate amount of time, you may see a lot better results or a definitive answer before you come before the microphone. You know, we're here. If you don't reach out to us, you're not using your resource. All right, with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
By Alderman Berube,
Do you have a second?
second by Alderman Pecoraro.
Oh, did you want to?
I just want to thank all of you for coming, and I want to thank the council for their support of this budget, which is, as we've all acknowledged, has been a very difficult one this year. So I just want to thank all of you for your support.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Were there any changes to the budget after the comments by the citizens?
No. No, so.
Oh, you're fine.
I gotta run out. Yeah, I think we heard Stu switch around.
See you, Mike. See you, Mr.
Good to see you. I'll see you at the market.
Okay, well, I'm not there. I'm with the Salvation Army for the,
This Saturday?
at the Tops at Meadow Drive.
Saturday.
Yeah, because of the weather, I'm done for the.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You look tired, you're sleeping. I've overstayed your toothpick.
The intersection of Christian and Ryan has
I thought this was
Reach out to me next year. I know. clear.
Oh, you know you might get here.